Hello, today it's listening project 4. My name is Lupena Surabia. So the part 1 is number 1. What does SETI stand for? According to Professor Hilary Twine. Number 2. Why does Professor Hilary say that many people misunderstand the purpose of SETI? Number 3, does Professor Hillary personally believe in UFOs? Explain her opinion. Number 4, what do SETI scientists actually believe about intelligent life? Number 5, why does Mike feel surprised by Hillary's opinion about UFOs? Number 6, explain the difference between believing in intelligent extraterrestrial life and believing in UFOs visiting Earth. Number 7 is how did Professor John Turgeon explain the difficulty of searching for extraterrestrial life? Number 8, what does the snail in Alaska analogy represent? Number 9, what active methods did scientists use during the 1916 and 1970 to search for extraterrestrial life. Number 10, why did some people think that sending signal to space could be dangerous? And the answer is number 1, SETI stand for Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Number 2, he confused. People often make mistakes SETI for a search for UFOs, but it actually looks for intelligent life in distant space. Number 3, she doesn't believe in UFOs and feels them as irrelevant into her scientific work. Number 4, scientists believe intelligent life exists in the universe, but not necessarily that it visits Earth. Number 5 is he wrongly assumed SETI researchers must believe in UFOs to do their job. Number 6, SETI focus on scientific evidence of civilization out there, while UFO believe focus on aliens already visiting Earth. Number 7, used by John Turgeon to show how vast distance make the search incredibly slow and difficult. Number 8, it represents the staggering scale of space and the difficulty of finding a needle in a haystack. Number 9, method 60 until 70 and an active approach using signal, probes, music, and maps to find others. Number 10, sending signal could be too risky if the civilization found the hostile. Still part 1 and number 11, why has SETI adopted a more passive strategy in recent years? Number 12, according to Hillary, why is listening for signal more practical than sending them? Number 13, what kinds of civilization are SETI researchers hoping to find? Number 14, how have humans already made their presence known to possible extraterrestrial civilization. Number 15. What is the meaning of the press telltale sign in the context of the interview? Number 16. Why does the silence from space worry some SETI scientists? Number 17. Mention two possible explanation Hillary gave for why humans have not detected extraterrestrial civilization yet. Number 18. What does Hillary suggest about the possible lifespan of advanced civilization? Number 19. Why does Hillary remain optimistic about the existence of intelligent life in the universe? Number 20. If Hillary had the chance to meet extraterrestrial beings, what important question would she ask them and why? The answer is said SETI now use a passive policy primarily listening for signal instead of broadcasting. Number 12. Listening is more logical because it's easier to wait for a signal than to guess where to send one. Number 13. Finding advanced civilization capable of interstellar communication. Number 14. Human footprint have leaked out radio and TV waves into space for about 70 years. Number 15. Broadcast signal or evidence that prove a civilization is technologically advanced. Number 16. Scientists worry that the lack of signal might mean we are alone. Number 17, it might be using the wrong technology or looking in the wrong place. Number 18, advanced life might destroy itself. Number 19, the universe is so massive that humans have only explored a tiny fraction of it. Number 20, Hillary would ask how they managed to survive without destroying their own planet. Part 2. Number 1. SETI scientists mainly spend their time searching for UFOs flying around Earth. It's false because SETI search for life in space, not UFOs at home. Number 2. Professor Hillary strongly believes that aliens frequently visit Earth in silver discs. It's false because Hillary doesn't believe aliens visit in silver discs. Number 3. According to Hillary, all SETI scientists believe extraterrestrial have already landed on Earth. It's false because not all SETI scientists believe aliens have landed on Earth. Number 4, Mike explains that SETI research regularly communicates with aliens using advanced telephones. It falls because this stance makes regular telephones communication impossible. Number 5, the snail in Alaska analogy was used to show how easy it is to find extraterrestrial life. It's false because the snail analogies show that the search is extremely hard. Number 6, during the 1960 and 1970, SETI researchers only listened quickly, quietly for signal from space. It falls because researchers were active sending signal in the 60 and 70. Number 7, scientists never send any object, music, or photos into space during earlier SETI programs. It's false because scientists did send photos and music into space. Number 8, Hillary says that modern SETI strategies focus mainly on sending stronger radio signal into space. It's false because modern strategies focus on listening, not sending. Number 9, SETI researchers are mostly interested in discovering simple organisms such as fungus, rather than intelligent civilization. It's false. They want intelligent life, not just fungus or bacteria. Number 10, according to the interview, humans have only been sending radio and television waves into space for about 7 years. It's false because we have sent waves for 70 years, not 7. Number 11, Hillary believes that every advanced civilization in the universe still exists today. It's false because Hillary thinks some civilization may have already gone extinct. Number 12, Hillary argued that environmental destruction and overpopulation are impossible problem for advanced civilization. Is false. She view environmental damage as a major threat to civilization. Number 13, Mike believes the universe contains fewer galaxies than grains of sand on Earth. It's false because Hillary, not Mike, compared galaxy numbers to grain of sand. Number 14, Hillary says that humans have already completely explored the universe and most nearby galaxies is false because we have only scanned out on galaxy, not the whole universe. Number 15, at the end of the interview, Hillary says that if extraterrestrial contact her, Mike will never hear about it. It's false because Hillary promised Mike would be the first to know about any contact. Next, part 3. Number 1, why did the mice family have plenty of food inside the house? Number 2, describe the cat that lived with the human family. Number 3, why did the mice consider the cat dangerous? Number 4, where did the mice hold their family meeting? Number 5, why did the boy not tell his father about the mice? Number 6, what problem did great grandpa Mouse discuss during the meeting? Number 7, what solution did Jimmy suggest to solve the problem? Number 8, why did Jimmy not want to tie the bell to the cat himself? Number 9, how did Jimmy finally manage to place the bell on the cat? Number 10, what was the final decision made by the surviving mice at the end of the story? The answer is the mice family had plenty of food because the human family always kept a lot of food, and and left many crumbs at night. The cat was a ragdoll cat with sky blue eyes, dark markings, friendly and cuddly to humans. Number three, the mice considered the cat dangerous because it hunts, stalks, and ate mice. Number four, the mice held their family meeting under the floorboard of the boys' bedroom. Number five, the boy did didn't tell his father because he secretly liked the mice and thought they were cute. Number six, the great grandpa mouse discussed the crisis of the cat threatening the mice's lives. Number seven, Jimmy suggests tying a bell to the cat's tail so the mice could hear it coming. Number eight, Jimmy didn't want to tie the bell because he was afraid and never meant to volunteer himself. Number nine is Jimmy placed the bell by quietly pulling a toy fire truck string and tying it to the cat's tail while it slept. Number 10. The surviving mice decide to move to the seaside. Still part 3 and number 11. Why did the little kid goat think he was able to take care of himself? Number 12. Why did the kid ignore his mother's call? Number 13. What happened after the kid realized the flock and had gone? Number 14. Describe the atmosphere when the kid was left alone and in the field. Number 15. Where did the kid finally encounter the wolf? Number 16. Why did the kid ask the wolf to play music before eating him? Number 17. Why did the wolf agree to play a tune for the kid? Number 18. How did the step herd dogs know the wolf was nervy? Number 19. What happened when the sheep dogs heard the wolf's music? Number 20. Why did the wolf call himself a fool at the end of the story? The answer is number 11. The little kid thought he could take care of himself because his growing horns made him feel grown up. Number 12. The kid ignored his mother's calls because he kept nibbling the tender grass. Number 13. After realizing the flock had gone, the kid became frightened frightened and cried for his mother. Number 14, the atmosphere was lonely and scary with long shadow, chilly wind, and strange noises in the grass. Number 15, the kid encountered the wolf near a clump of trees in the field. Number 16, the kid asked the wolf to play music because he wanted to dance and be merry before being eaten. Number 17, the wolf agreed because he liked the idea of music before eating. Number 18, the shepherd dogs knew the wolf was nervy because they heard the wolf songs carried to the through the air. Number 19, when the shepherd dogs heard the music, they raced back to the pasture to chase the wolf away. Number 20, the wolf called himself a fool because he stopped to play music instead of focusing on catching the kid. Part 4 is make a note for story The Cat That Went Tinkling. A big family of mice lived happily in a house where there was always plenty of food. However, their life became dangerous after the family's kitten grew into a cat that liked hunting mice. With Grandpa Mouse gathered all the mice under the floorboards to discuss the problem. During the meeting, Jimmy suggested tying a bell to the cattails so the mice could hear it coming. Unf Unfortunately, everyone took Jimmy volunteered to do it himself. That night, Jimmy bravely tied the bell to the sleeping cat's tail using a toy fire truck string. The plan worked because the mice could hear the bell whenever the cat moved. In the end, the surviving mice decide to leave the house and move to the seaside. And second story about Wolf and the Kid. A little kid goat told he was already grown up because his horns were starting to grow. One evening, he ignored his mother's call and stayed behind eating grass while the flock went home. Soon, he realized he was alone in the dark and became frightened. Near some trees, he met a hungry wolf. Knowing he could not escape, the kid asked the wolf to play music before eating him so he could dance one last time. The wolf agreed and played a tune. The sheep-herd dogs heard the music, rego- re- recognized the wolf's songs, and quickly ran back to the pasture. The wolf escaped from the dogs and called himself a fool for forgetting his main purpose. It's done. Thank you.